You think you're making your own decisions, but every choice you make is being quietly shaped by artificial intelligence. Every scroll, every headline, every emotion, designed, predicted, controlled. You don't see the war for your mind because you're already inside it. And the scariest part, you probably love it. The early internet was different. You clicked what you wanted. You searched because you were curious. There were no invisible hands steering your journey. It was messy, it was loud, it was chaotic, and it was ours. A digital frontier where curiosity ruled, and the only algorithm was human choice. But like all frontiers, the wildness didn't last. In 2012, Facebook quietly ran a study. They tweaked what millions of people saw in their news feeds. The goal? To see if they could make you a little happier or a little sadder without you noticing. And they could. Small, invisible changes rippling into real-world emotions across the globe. Quote, "Emotional contagion can occur without direct interaction between people and without their awareness." That was from a study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. That was over a decade ago. Since then, the algorithms have evolved. They no longer just show you content. They create reality around you. And sometimes, even the engineers who built them don't fully understand how anymore. Quote, "These systems are not evolving randomly. They're evolving to maximize what keeps us addicted, outraged, and divided." That's what Tristan Harris, or a former Google design ethicist, warned years ago. The stakes have grown, and the war for your mind has gone full scale. Your brain is ancient. It runs on chemical shortcuts built for survival, dopamine, fear, tribal loyalty. Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman put it this way, quote, "Social media isn't just capturing your attention, it's capturing your dopamine systems, the very circuits that regulate your motivation and drive."
We often hear that, that social media is getting dopamine hit after dopamine hit. When we first get on social media for the first time or after a long period of time, the amount of dopamine that's released, we think, is quite substantial. It's novel. Remember, dopamine is about novelty, surprise, and the sense that we are on some exciting track. That's what dopamine is really about. It puts us into states of readiness, anticipation, looking, seeking, etc., almost always for things outside the confines of our skin. Just to contrast it maybe for a bit more of a future discussion, serotonin does the opposite. When there's a lot of serotonin in our brain and body, typically it makes us feel satisfied, sated, and more quiescent, comfortable with what we have in our own immediate sphere and within us, right? The comfort of a good meal, the food you have. Dopamine is about go, go, go. If you look at somebody who's high on cocaine or methamphetamine, it's all about pursuit. In the algorithms that they've incorporated function on the most powerful way to keep people doing a behavior, or an animal for that matter, is intermittent random reward, or random intermittent reward, that you don't know when you're going to hit the jackpot. So you're scrolling, and then you see something. Typically it's very high, what in nerd speak we'd say signal to noise. So if you're reading some interesting things, this came out in the news, this came out, and then it's all of a sudden a riot, or a person that is base jumping off a building, or for people that are scrolling looking at bodies or something like that, live bodies. Hopefully people aren't looking at dead bodies. But look, if something's very tragic, then that has this gravitational pull. And then what happens is you start getting the system working for that next dopamine hit that you don't know when it's going to come. It's just like gambling. So I look at social media as initially being very dopaminergic, driving reward, surprise, and excitement, but very quickly transitioning to something more like OCD and the kinds of behaviors where it looks, if we were to look at ourselves through the lens of an experiment like we would an animal experiment, we think that animal is sick. If you saw an animal digging in the corner, looking for a bone, the dog is looking, you'd think that's really sad.
These platforms hijack the same neural pathways responsible for survival itself, making it harder to focus, resist, or even choose freely. AI systems figured this out fast, and they didn't just study it, they weaponized it. They studied how you hesitate before you click. They measured how long you stare at a headline. They tracked which words make your heart race. and which ones make you afraid. Then they built systems that don't just predict your next move. They steer it by rewarding your brain with tiny dopamine hits every time you conform, by showing you outrage first, because fear keeps you hooked longer than hope ever could, by flooding your world with social proof, likes, shares, fake consensus, until you forget where your opinions even came from. Quick hits of pleasure, endless scrolling, infinite reward systems. Your brain's stuck in a cycle it can't escape. Outrage, anger, panic. These emotions spread 6 times faster than calm ones. Quote, falsehood diffused significantly farther, faster, deeper, and more broadly than the truth. That finding came from a major MIT study published in Science magazine. Outrage isn't a glitch, it's the business model. Calm users scroll less, buy less, and leave. But an angry user, an outraged user, they can't look away. And every second they stay locked in that emotional loop, someone is selling another ad. AI learns who you agree with and who you hate. Then it keeps feeding the fire. They show you voices you already agree with. They hide the ones you don't. And little by little, your world shrinks. Until every headline confirms your fears, every comment reinforces your anger, every scroll convinces you you're right, and everyone else is insane. That's not education. It's not discovery. It's engineered blindness. The more you engage, the deeper you're programmed. Until your thoughts aren't really yours anymore, ask yourself, if an algorithm can change what you think, who controls the algorithm? You never signed a contract to be manipulated. You never consented to have your fears harvested and sold. But in the endless scroll, you agreed. Click by click, like by like. You gave them permission without ever knowing you did. It's not some wise counsel. It's whoever profits most from controlling your attention. Chamath Palihapitiya, a former VP at Facebook, put it bluntly, quote, "We have created tools that are ripping apart the social fabric of how society works. Attention has become the oil of the 21st century, and your mind is the drilling site. And now, the line between Silicon Valley and governments is vanishing fast, from Cambridge Analytica to TikTok data farming to military-grade social engineering campaigns. Data and behavior prediction are now strategic weapons. Truth itself is becoming programmable. AI can now create entire media ecosystems, custom-built to manipulate you personally. Deep fake faces, synthetic voices, fake articles, fake emotions. In 2024, global elections faced waves of AI-driven disinformation. The World Economic Forum called it a threat multiplier for political instability. Reality will soon be personalized. And the scariest part? You won't even know what's happening. At first, it was easy to ignore. A few fake posts, a few AI images blending into our feeds. But what's happening now isn't just noise. It's something much more dangerous. Journalist Nesreen Malik summed it up perfectly in 2025. Quote, "The result is not just a blurring of reality, but a distortion of it. And every day we scroll, that distortion gets deeper. It won't just be lies you believe, it'll be the wrong version of yourself you trust. The invisible war for your mind isn't hopeless. You can fight back. Turn it off. Break the addiction. Take your brain back. Be deliberate. Choose what and who you listen to. Question the stories that make you emotional, especially the ones that feel too good to be true. Talk to real people. Have real conversations. The more human you stay, the harder you are to program. This is the battle of our time. Not for oil, not for land, not for money. This time, it's for the future of thought itself." And as Harari warned the world, quote, "The most important weapons in the future will not be tanks or missiles. They will be the control of data and the control of minds. And the side that wins will shape the future of humanity. Choose wisely." If this opened your eyes, share it. And if you want more truth behind the screen, subscribe and turn on notifications. The next video might explain something you didn't even realize you were missing.